All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to cut right through all the noise, all the hype, and give you the real story on what it actually takes to become a machine learning engineer. This is the stuff you really need to hear. So let's jump right in.
So, you want to be a machine learning engineer, right? I mean, you've seen the job postings, you've heard about the salaries, the super cool projects, and you're probably thinking, yeah, that's the career for me. And look, I totally get it. It is one of the most exciting fields out there today, for sure. But, because it's so hot right now, there's just a ton of noise and, let's be honest, a lot of bad advice out there. So, the whole point of this explainer is to give you that honest, candid, yeah, maybe even brutal truth. This isn't to scare you off, not at all. It's about getting you ready for what the journey really looks like. Okay, so before we dive into the tough stuff, let's just take a second to talk about the dream. Let's acknowledge why this is such a big deal. There are some really good reasons that so many people want to get into this profession.
And this quote? Yeah, this pretty much nails it, doesn't it? It's a great job. The work is fascinating, the pay is high, and, well, it's just plain cool. So we get the appeal. We understand the dream. Now let's talk about what it takes to make that dream a reality.
And here we go. Here is that first dose of reality. The road to becoming an ML engineer, it's not some casual walk in the park. It's a real grind. It demands a serious, non-negotiable commitment from you. So what does that mean in real terms? Let's get specific. We're talking about a bare minimum of 10 hours. 10 hours of dedicated study every single week. And that's on top of everything else you've got going on. Your job, your family, your social life. There's just no shortcut here. This has to become a major priority. This is the most important mental shift you have to make. You need to start thinking about machine learning engineering as a true professional discipline. I mean, just like becoming a doctor or a lawyer, right? Nobody thinks they can become a surgeon by just watching a few online videos. And honestly, the same kind of rigor applies here. This is a serious profession, and it takes years of dedicated work to even get your foot in the door. And that, of course, brings us to the timeline, because getting that fancy job title, it's not something that happens overnight. It's a long journey of building up your skills and, just as importantly, your experience. It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. So this is what that path usually looks like. I mean, the realistic path. Almost nobody just jumps straight into an ML engineer role. The much more common route is you start as a data analyst, you build those core skills, then you move up to become a data scientist where you start tackling more complex problems, and then, once you have that foundation, you're finally ready to make that leap. Each step really builds on the last. Okay, so what does that look like in terms of time? Let's be real here. You're looking at a journey that takes years. Even if you have the absolute perfect background, you're still looking at 2 years minimum. But for most people, it's going to be more like 3, 4, or even 5 years to build the kind of real-world, hands-on experience that top companies are looking for. Now, I know that might sound a little daunting, but listen, there's a really powerful way to reframe this. Once you accept that this is a long-term thing, that it's going to take years, it can actually be incredibly liberating. Seriously, it takes all that pressure off to get there tomorrow. It means you can slow down, you can stop rushing, and you can focus on actually learning things deeply, properly, one solid step at a time. So, okay, if you're going to put in all that time, the next obvious question is, what should you actually be studying? It's so tempting to go chase after the newest, shiniest thing, right? But that is a huge mistake. Real success in this field comes from mastering the fundamentals.
Let's be absolutely crystal clear about what an ML engineer is and what it isn't. A real ML engineer, that's someone who has a deep, fundamental understanding of how the algorithms actually work. The math behind them, the statistics, the theory. It is not, I repeat, not just someone who can call a pre-built chatbot API they found online. That's a totally different skill set, and frankly, a much less valuable one.
This right here, this is the bedrock. This is your foundation. You absolutely have to know these algorithms inside and out. And I don't just mean knowing how to type import library. I mean understanding how they work from the ground up. Why? Because these are the building blocks for practically everything else in machine learning. You would be shocked at how many candidates for these jobs can't even explain something as basic as gradient descent.
Mastering these fundamentals is what will truly make you stand out.
So the big takeaway here is pretty simple. Invest your time where it counts. Forget about whatever flashy new Gen AI model is trending this week. Spend your first couple of years just laser-focused on mastering the fundamentals. We're talking supervised learning, statistics, how to handle data. These are the concepts that have been around for a long time, and they are by far the best long-term investment for your career.
So, after all that, after hearing about the grind, the time, the fundamentals, we get to the single most important question. And it's a question that, in the end, only you can answer for yourself.
This really gets to the core of it, doesn't it? The path is open. Anyone with enough discipline, enough drive, can do this. But, and this is a big but, that doesn't mean everyone should. You have to be incredibly honest with yourself. Does the sacrifice this requires really fit with your life, your family, and your long-term goals? Let's just put that sacrifice in the clearest possible terms one last time. You are looking at a 4 to 5 year commitment. That's years of grinding away in the evenings, on your weekends. That's a huge chunk of your life. Now, for some people, landing a career they'll love for the next 20 or 30 years is absolutely worth that trade-off. The only question is it worth it for you?
I want to leave you with this one last thought, because I think it just perfectly captures this whole journey. The process feels hard because, frankly, most people just don't try hard enough. But if you are one of the few who is willing to really put in that work, to truly commit to the grind, the path doesn't just become doable. It actually starts to feel easier. So the only real question left is, are you ready to try that hard?